as an Open University student, I have to use academic language. Now, if I didn't have assistive technology, I'd be sitting for hours going like, right, how do I actually put this into stuff I can spell to make my life easier? Because, some of the complex subjects that I study, there's no way I can spell half of them, but I mean, I got into assistive technology totally by accident. I mean, it wasn't one of these things that I knew about. I knew about Dragon. I had my own version back in 2017, which I tried to sell to my work. That didn't work very well. But when I left my work and I started blogging, the pandemic came along and Claro Software came along and said, why don't you try our softwares? And I was like, yeah, okay. And they were bringing out a new thing called Claro Writing Helper, which they were trying to show me how to work and everything because I had just signed up for the Open University. I was putting that on, and it sort of went on from there because I was blogging about using this assistive technology and how I could see it could help me. And I was also working with an author called Ian McKinnon to try and improve my writing at the time, and he was telling me about using things like text to speech so I could hear where I'd made mistakes, and I found that that was a lot easier for me to find out where I'd done things wrong. And then OrCam came along and said, do you want to try our product? So I tried OrCam, and things have sort of progressed from there. I've found out things like Present Pal, Boost, all the products in Adventido. Yeah, it's just been like mind blowing. And, you know, okay, my blog is broken, which is a shame, but I turned my experiences with the Open University and the fact that I'm studying criminology and the fact that I have all these people contacting me pretending to be the same person. I turned them into short, funny stories about using assistive technology and talking to these scammers through my character that I made up called Wilma Mayhem. I was going to go for something more traditional like Morig, but I couldn't remember how to spell it. So um, I just I went to school with somebody called Wilma, and I was like, well, she causes mayhem wherever she goes because she's trained at St Trinian's, which not a lot of people get the joke. Well, a lot of people who are British get the joke. If you've ever watched St Trinian's, a pile of schoolgirls who cause mischief wherever they go. So I was like, well, I thought that was quite good. So I've just recently launched my book, The Secret Life of a Dyslexic Criminologist on Amazon to talk about my experiences with dyslexia, the assistive technology I use, and the weird and wonderful conversations I have with these people trying to make me fall in love and go out and get me Google cards and help with their charities and, using my studies, just talking to these people and making them feel at ease with my counselling technique, and then finding out how they're going to scam me so I can let people know about it.
Well, Susie, there is so much that we can dive into within this, which is absolutely fantastic. So, when did you first? Let's talk about your. Were you diagnosed with dyslexia? What stage was that? What was that story for the people that's not heard your incredible story before? Let's take you back to your kind of around the diagnosis side of it, whether it was self-diagnosed or whether it was actually diagnosed. What did that look like?
I was actually identified with dyslexia at the age of 10, and that was due to the fact that my parents had moved to a rural area. Now, I have acquired dyslexia and dyspraxia, and it was through an illness called meningoccal meningitis. So I have a brain injury, which has caused my dyslexia and my dyspraxia. I have gone in and found the research behind that, so I know that that's where my original dyslexia had come from. But, this was 1981 or something, and I was told it was just a reading and writing problem. So, I was like, once I learnt to read and write, which I still can do, very slowly, my problems are things like working memory, remembering what I read. If somebody comes up and questions me, right, scan that and tell me what you've read. I have no recollection whatsoever. So using assistive technology is actually better for me to listen to it, because I find that I can go over it as many times as I want. It's a lot quicker. So that was my identification. So it wasn't really, I had a massive accident, I smashed my leg up, a badly parked car, ended up hospitalised, and I didn't realise dyslexia was a problem till I returned to work. And I was never out of HR. I mean, it was so stressful, and I couldn't work out what the problem was. And I thought, well, surely it can't be dyslexia. But I started looking it up when I was like, yeah, that's what the problem is. I'm like, it's because I'm dyslexic and I think differently from everybody else. And I sort of moved on from there and found out about Dyslexia Scotland and the Adult Network. So I joined that, and that was massive for me because I could then talk to people who were in similar situations. It was therapy,
Our
really.
new sponsor, OrCam Learn, who do incredible work within the dyslexia sector, within AI as well. And to let you kind of explain what they do and the incredible work they do, please do check out this.
And here it is, the cool and colorful OrCam Learn. All you have to do is point and click for OrCam Learn to instantly capture any text, like a textbook, classroom handout, and computer screens, and the device will read it out loud or through a Bluetooth audio device.
Daedalus was a brilliant inventor and craftsman who lived in ancient Greece.
OrCam is the only reading technology in the world that can capture full pages of text and screens. And that's not all. OrCam Learn's Hey OrCam voice assistant uses natural language understanding technology to allow students to check their understanding of content.
Let's read.
Got it? Go ahead and start reading.
Why didn't you come? She said to the strange woman.
That was wonderful. You read 3 sentences correctly. Well done.
And reinforce reading comprehension with interactive questioning and answering.
Hey OrCam, ask me.
Which animal guides Mary? What's Mary's cousin's name? Where does Mary take Cohen?
Students are also able to pose their own text-based questions and receive answers thanks to this tech. And check this out. We engineered the core features of this amazing device to operate completely offline, making it ideal for in-class use and taking exams independently.
Find solar system.
The solar system also contains smaller objects.
OrCam Learn not only maximizes study time, it promotes confidence, control, and makes the entire learning experience a whole lot cooler. Especially during these times of remote learning and reduced learning support, OrCam Technologies is in the business of making life easier for students who face reading challenges, including dyslexia. OrCam Learn. The future of learning fits comfortably in your hand.
Did you find, Susie, when you, I remember my diagnosis at the age of 36, and my kind of euphoria moment, I guess, and the first time that I felt that someone was actually speaking to me was when I was watching a news bulletin in the afternoon. They were talking about florists, and they were saying, they were talking to the florist, and they were thinking about, I was thinking the interview was about being an entrepreneur and saying, the interview was on that stage, but the interview was really based around her dyslexia. So she would mention, I can make the most beautiful bouquets, but don't ask me to spell them. I can do this, 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 this. And every single time she used the word dyslexia. And up until that time of the age of 36, I'd never ever heard that word before. But it was that first time when she started mentioning about how it affects her in the sense of how she sees the world and these different things. Was that the kind of moment for you when you were speaking to Dyslexia Scotland that you just felt like these people get you?
Yeah. Plus having looked on it in Google, it was like a light bulb moment, because I was reading things and I could actually visualize myself being in that situation. I was like, that's talking about me. I'm like, oh, yes, I can now see why I'm having some issues, because easily distracted. Yeah, just took a telephone call. I've finished that job and going on to something else, standing arguing with people saying I've done things, but actually, because I had so much work going on at the same time, I was getting up completely confused, muddled up, missing out things, arguing with people all the time that I'd done this, I'd done that, when actually I'd forgotten all about it. It was like, yeah, I can see where I'm having issues now. I'm needing a bit of help.
Was that draining, Susie?
Yeah, it was actually. It was completely exhausting. And there was at times where, thank goodness, nobody ever caught me, but I didn't actually realise about problems with working memory. And because I was so overtired with reading everything, there was at times at work I could feel myself falling asleep in my work chair. I was just like, and it was just completely stressful, anxiety. And even when I was getting it right, I had everybody telling me I was getting it wrong. I was like, how do I sort this out? How do I get this fixed? And how do I find out about where there's help and support? So Dyslexia Scotland started pointing me in the direction of where that was, how to get that, you know, what else I could do, because I had no confidence, even trying to go for another job. I'm like, how do I fill in the application form? What do I do for an interview? I don't know. So it was completely overwhelming. And even
Were you,
then,
were you kind
trying
of
to
sort
get
of
help.
were you sort of kind of preempting that? Because you mentioned, how do I do the application form? How, if I get through that stage, how do I do the interview? Then if I get through to that stage, how do I do the induction? How do I do the job? All these, were you kind of preempting these problems in your head um, while you were obviously struggling? Were you doing that, Susie?
Yeah, I suppose in a way I was. I didn't actually realise, but people were like, Susan, you can just go and do any job you want. And I'm going like, really? I mean, come off it. I can't even swap my job in my normal workplace. So how am I supposed to get a job outside of that? I'm like, I really don't know. I was like, wow, this is, the no confidence, no anything. It was like, I really don't know how to do that.
Do you think that the confidence? Do you think that was stemmed from sort of kind of like school, in the sense of some of the things that Because I can say that from me, from my side of it, that you start off in school as this kind of vibrant person and full of life, and you like all these different things, and you think, actually, I'm going to be able to achieve this, this, and this, and then gradually, as the things that you can't do, in the sense of do like I say, you can't do like someone else, it does chip away and knock your confidence. And I felt as I grew older and older, it would then keep chipping away to a point when you think, well, actually, it takes some real strength, doesn't it, to come out of that, to start building your confidence back up.
Oh yeah, definitely, because I went to school, I was told I was stupid, I was a waste of space, I had other pupils coming up telling me I was retarded, spastic, because I was in remedial. That was like, wow. But then when I found that I could do art and cooking and stuff, they were like, you're a creative genius. You're like, what am I? Am I stupid or a creative genius? And it still lives with me today. And I find that that's one of the double-edged swords of being dyslexic. You're like, I still have my days. I'm stupid. I'm lazy. I'm a waste of space. It still affects my mental health. But then there's other times where I'm going like, wow. I mean, I'm going to myself, wow. I never thought I'd write a book, but I have, and I've got it published. I'm like, what? That's something else.
It's really sad to hear that, in the sense that we're made to feel in that way, and like I said, they it does travel with you for, I'm sure, for the rest of your life. Some of these words, and you hit the nail on the head when you said it's a double-edged sword, with regards to, if you were to kind of put someone, I don't know, if you put me into a maths or an English lesson, I probably would struggle. You put me in drama and art and things like this, I would excel. So it is that. Okay, so what category why do we categorize people in this sense? And you're absolutely right. Why, am I this or am I that? Or am I just basically better at this than I am at that? But it doesn't need to come down to the name calling and the making someone feel really bad about themselves because possibly they're not excelling in certain ways. And I guess does happen a lot in the early stages with the educational sector, because we have to try all of these different lessons. But as we grow into adults, we just venture off into something that I guess we're more interested in.
Yeah, no, and one of the things that I find frustrating now, and I hear quite a bit of it, is schools handing out things like iPads to dyslexic pupils, but they don't teach them how to use the assistive technology in it to be able to aid them. And I find that quite frustrating. I'm like, well, why isn't this part of the education system? If a child's struggling to spell, let them use the dictation that's already built into the word product, or let them use immersive reader, read aloud, let them see how it works, and, let them build their confidence and benefit them from it. And I think that it should be more in primary and secondary school. And I'm glad I've got it in further education, but, I think it should be throughout, workplace, everything.
Do you think there are some incredible schools out there that are embracing things like AI, and they're embracing the technology revolution, I guess, although I feel like it's been here for forever, even though my younger generation it wasn't. But you're absolutely right. It's why in the outside world we embrace technology, as in, we've got our mobile device. If we need anything, we Google. If we need assistive tech, we will use the assistive tech. But in some situations, still in the educational sector, not every sector, not everyone, which thankfully, it is a case of, this is, you mentioned it, here's the iPad, get on with it. Here's can we bring this assistive technology into it? Not too sure how to use it. Why do you think we're still hesitant? And again, it's just a thought and opinion on this. Why do you think they're too hesitant to really go all in on assistive technology?
I think it's apart from lack of knowledge, because I find that there's a lot of people with a lack of knowledge about assistive technology, because there's not many people who actually know about it. Even talking to people that I know go, oh, I didn't even know about that. So talking to people about assistive technology, letting people know, there's more than just Grammarly or Ginger or things that we see advertised. There's a lot more there than you don't know about, like text to speech. It just depends what sort of budget you have, or what sort of education you're in, or what are your needs, because assistive technology, there's no one size fits all. It's what's going to benefit you and what you're happy with. I have a number of scanning pens. I love them all. They've all got their uses. My preference is the OrCam Learn, but that's because I'm dyspraxic. And the other ones, I have to literally drag along the page, which is just as tiring as reading sometimes. It's
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, Susie, that that not one size fits all, and I think that's the beauty, in the sense that if we really do embrace assistive technology into our workplaces, into the educational sector, then we at least we can understand what someone's needs are. I always think, when I look at assistive technology, I always think, what's the end goal? As in, how can we help that student, or how can we help someone in the workplace? What is the end goal? So if it's in the educational sector, it's to help them study, help them to learn, help them with their exams, help them, and so on. And again, similar in the sense of the workplace, to help them carry out their tasks and their jobs with ease, and to stop, the stresses and the straining. But I do feel that we do need to embrace it more. I do feel, though, that we have embraced, if I think about assistive technology, say 3 years ago, or even 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I think there has been a revolutionary kind of shift within this. But I still feel that we're still a very few years away from it really kind of becoming accepted.
Yeah, well, come off it. You see the arguments about Chat GPT these days, and how it helps people. I mean, as an Open University student, I know that I have to make sure that my work is still authentic, and they're going to find out the algorithms of using that technology. So you've got to make sure that you are doing everything by the book, but it takes a bit of time to get those structures in place. I mean, I've been using Writing Helper since the beginning. It has gone through a lot of changes. I have broken it a lot. I'm sure Stuart Marsden hides under the table at times, because I'm going, your um, software's broken again, or it's just not working for me. But being able to work out how to structure things, how to get that big plan that you have in place broken into tiny little sections that you find manageable is very, very important. I mean, I like using things like the Pomodoro technique. So I'm only studying for about 25, 35 minutes. Then I'll take a 10-minute break. Then I'll study again for another 25, 30. And it helps my brain just process things better. I find it helps improve my concentration.
So for people that are not aware of that, Susie, would you like to explain that? That's the ticking noise, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the tomato technique. So you can put on a timer and study for so many minutes, and then take a 10-minute break. Go make yourself a cup of coffee, go away and do something else for 10 minutes, and then go back to studying. It just allows your brain that time to process what you've been studying, because if you are overtired or doing something else, you're not going to be in the mood for studying that thing, or your brain's not going to automatically go, yes, I want to learn history about criminology today. Your brain might be going, no, actually, I'm away somewhere else doing something else. So
that's really interesting, isn't it? That I tend to do work within kind of a 20-minute. I'll go in and I'll do a task for around 20 minutes, and then I'll try and break off for 10 minutes and then go back to it. And other times when I'm hyper focusing, I will just continuously work on it and work on it and work on it. If we look at the educational sector, or even in the work sector, I guess, let's take the educational sector and the fact that we have a lesson time. Say in the UK, we have a lesson time of an hour. Just say, if we looked at a student in that hour that didn't have assistive technology or didn't have the support, that's a long time, isn't it, for someone to I guess try and contain themselves within that hour. Because I know for myself, I get fidgety after 10 minutes being in a certain situation. But that's a long time, isn't it? An hour. And then to go to another lesson and duplicate that, there needs to be, if there was more breaks, for instance. I mean, I don't know what the complete solution within this, and I'm not a teacher, I take my hat off to them. But we talk about 20-minute break, the Pomodoro effect, all these different things. But how do you think we can help within, I guess, the educational sector to break it up a little bit?
Yeah, well, that's one of the tricks, as not being a teacher myself. I find that quite tricky, and it's one of these questions where within the criminal justice system that I'm trying to find out about people like myself doing jury service, because sitting there listening to stuff, taking notes, you might be sitting there for a full 3 hours. How do you concentrate for that amount of time, take notes, without missing vital information, and then discussing it at the end with 14, 15, 16 people of your findings and their findings to make sure that you've got the right outcome for the person. It is extremely difficult, and it's one that you're going like, am I allowed to use assistive technology within the court system? And it's one of these questions where everybody's going, that's a really good question, yeah, and you don't know, like,
That's a really great question, and for that length of period of time, you have to be on par. You have to really kind of focus, because one, a certain thing that's mentioned or a certain thing that's said, you have to make sure that you're listening and you're attentive to this. How did that feel when you've I know we can't talk about this in any way, shape, or form, but to a certain degree, but if you've been in a situation where you've had to kind of concentrate for a really long period of time and then dissect that and then have a conversation afterwards, I know for me that's challenging.
it's a challenge for me as well.
I think back to when I used to be in retail, and we used to have 3-4 hour meetings in the afternoon where we used to dissect the basically what was our sales, targets, and everything else like this. And each manager would go around the table, and we'd have to do this. And I remember after that, I mean, this was before I realized I was dyslexic and assistive tech or anything else like this. And I always remember feeling really burnt out and thinking to myself, like, how can I even articulate what it is that I need to say, purely because of the time that have passed where I'm just concentrating so much. Have you been in those situations, Susie?
Many, many times, and yeah, or you're sitting there and you're listening and you come up with this question which you see as a problem, and everybody else is just going like, where does that come from? And you're like, and then you're suddenly going, they're asking you to put it in a step-by-step process, which doesn't work for me, because I'm going like, I just know it's a problem. I can't really explain it. And then you're suddenly feeling stupid, going, why did I bring this into the conversation? Oh dear, I'm in trouble here. And you just end up sitting there. I ended up usually sitting in meetings and stuff, just being really quiet, because I was like, if I mention this, everybody's just going to go, oh, that daydreamer, that loony has just interrupted the whole conversation and we've got nothing out of it. And I'm going like, I'll just keep my opinions and everything to myself. So
It is very difficult. I speak to many people, and they mention about that. Some of the tactics that they have, because whether it's their dyslexia, the ADHD, or different things, and again, their words, not mine, is that I remember I can't quote exactly who it was, but I follow them on social media, and they do incredible content. And they put a picture up, and it was the gentleman sat there, and he was sat on his hands. And he was sort of looking as if he was listening attentively to the rest of the room. And what he wrote on the caption, which is incredible, it said, this picture, if you look at it, it looks like I'm listening attentive. What I'm doing is actually sitting on my hands and biting the bottom of my lip, because I'm trying my very best not to interject. Because that's one of the things that I guess we have where we generally we interrupt, because in our heads we're thinking, I must say this before I forget it. I must say it. And then we blurt out and say it. And sometimes when we say it, we think to ourselves, we then reflect, and you could reflect on it then and think, oh my goodness, I shouldn't have said that. And then it could take a day, a week, and then it can be something that you regret for, continuation. But that actual blurting out and saying things has definitely been a regular thing for myself as well, Susie.
yeah, and thank goodness, but being back in the Open University, compared to my workplace where I wasn't allowed to ask questions, being allowed to ask questions all the time is amazing, because if you don't ask questions, you don't learn anything. And I found that I was in a situation where I really wasn't learning anything. I wasn't going anywhere. Nobody was being helpful. So I was like, and I ended up burning out and having a nervous breakdown because of it. Because I'm going like, I can actually see myself learning stuff and moving forward on the outside world, but within this area, I am stuck.
What was that period like then, Susie? Where, because you obviously have a real love of learning. Because every time I hear the stuff that you're doing, you've done the book, Open University, all these things. What was that stage like before, where you mentioned, you're running kind of the burnout side of it? What was that kind of leading up like, if you don't mind sharing?
It was like you kept jazzing yourself up, going like, I can do this, we can get over this hurdle, everything. And then it felt like you were drowning because somebody else was just throwing another gallon of water on top of you, and you kept coming up for air and going like, it's okay, I'm coping, I can do this. And then it was backwards and forwards, and you try and keep it as above board as possible. I mean, I was using lavender oil. I was trying to use sleep apps to relax, go to sleep, but my brain was going like, what's going on here? How can I move forward? Because none of this is working, and constantly getting yourself anxious. I'm heading into work now. All right, what am I going to find? The list of things I've done wrong today. It's like, I just want to be able to move forward and be able to be good at my job.
So we had that period, and then obviously we had the pandemic, which we don't need to revisit in the sense, tell everyone about that, because everyone obviously went through that with them, sadly. Then it was kind of your opportunity to start learning again or using assistive technology. What did that kind of look like for yourself?
Well, I mean, it was at the beginning of the pandemic when I started the Open University, and thank goodness I've got a very good friend at Dyslexia Scotland, and they were doing their last year at the Open University, and I was doing my first. So, we usually had a chat at some point, every week. I was geeing her up because she was burnt out, she was ready for giving up, and I'm sitting there going, I really don't have a clue what I'm doing. I was like, this is just like unbelievable, and I'm looking at this thing going, this will take you 5 hours to read. And that's 2 or 3 times, and I'm going like, it's going to take me 5 hours just to read it the first time. Try about 15, 20 hours by the time that people that can proofread, amazing. I can't, I'm going like, wow. And then you've got this assignment and you're going, I've got to break 3 weeks worth of work into an assignment, learn how to reference it, and break what I feel is the best knowledge into it. You're going like, help me. No, what am I doing? I've been daft. I can't cope with this. I'm going, no. But fortunately, I've had the support, and they're going, yes, have your beginning and your conclusion kind of mirrored, and then you can waffle in the middle, but still you still have problems going like, have I referenced this enough? I find myself arguing with myself all the time when I'm ready for admitting stuff, because I'm going, have I got enough referencing? Have I done the referencing properly? Because it's different every single time. Have I made a complacent argument enough, even though I've listened to it 50 million times? And I'm going like, I'm still not sure, but I'm pretty sure if I had one day and went, yes, I'm 100% confident that I've done that properly is probably the day I'm going to fall flat on my face. So I prefer arguing with myself and wondering if I've answered the question correctly, and then taking the feedback and going like, right, okay, that yeah, I see where my tutor's coming from. I can help improve this, I can help improve that, because that is what it's all about. It's about learning and being able to break it down, but breaking it into manageable chunks at times, because there are days where you're going like, I really don't want to study, but you get there.
So, how did you? Was it? What's kind of other support did you get within that then? Because you mentioned when you first went there, you go, I've got no clue, which is a natural ability whenever we try and start something new, and it's definitely when it's out of our comfort zone. We start a new job, or we go into learn, into higher education or whatever it is. It is that fear of, am I going to be found out? Am I an imposter? Am I doing this? So what other support? So you said you had someone that was currently doing their third year, you were doing their first. How did it then move into you being able to kind of break these things down and know methodically how, it should be done in that way? Was that through support of someone else? Was that just continuous studying from
Well, yeah, I mean, working with Claro, being, because Jed, when he worked at Claro, gave me his phone number. I've been through the Open University. You want to talk anytime, Susan? Going on to Zoom meetings with Stuart to get the knack of writing helper, being able to break that down, see actually how to get the stuff that I was wanting put in, because the Open University works a bit differently from everybody else. So making sure that I could get the information that I was wanting into writing helper, and basically breaking it down from there, because there's at times where, the further I go in, I'm going to have to not only research, I might have 40 journals to read. Now that's going to be overwhelming, but being able to add them into things like Scholaressay and then get the bullet points off and go like, well, that's the main article, and then take OrCam and just click the screen and read have the full article read to me and stuff, and then being able to pick out the bullet points that I might want to use as part of my research makes life a bit easier. I can't say it makes it completely easy. I mean, everybody thinks, oh, you're using assistive technology, you're cheating. No, I'm not. I'm just being able to break the things down that, that other people find quite easy, but I find incredibly difficult, because I'm going like, I've got all this information here. I don't know where to begin. I'm like,
I remember someone mentioned it before. They use the analogy. It's kind of just making it a level playing field, in the sense of just being how to understand the context, that's given, and being able to, read it, dissect it, and just literally being on par in that sense. And it's interesting, isn't it, that if someone was to say that using assistive technology is cheating, or it's actually you're using, because the whole point of assistive technology is to assist you, and I think that's the clue is in the wording, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, whether you want to use TalkType or Dragon or dictation that's already built into Word, is your decision, but it's there to assist you, and, as an Open University student, I have to use academic language. Now, if I didn't have assistive technology, I'd be sitting for hours going like, right, how do I actually put this into stuff I can spell to make my life easier? Because, some of the complex subjects that I study, there's no way I can spell half of them, but, I have Dragon, and that I can talk to the computer and type things up far quicker than I can type things up. So, but then again, I still like to keep my typing skills in check. So using things like Light Key makes a big difference as well, because it does actually cut down the amount of keystrokes, because it can predict sometimes what you're going to say. So even using that on the helpline sometimes is just like, Oh, yes, thank you for contacting that. And it'll already be there. Just one click of a tab. You're like, yes, thank you.
Susie, you've written a book.
Yeah.
You've done. Have you finished your Open University now? Where are you?
No, I'm in my 4th year. I'm doing social research. I took it over 6 years to break things down because I thought doing 2 units at a time was a bit overwhelming and trying to learn everything. So I took my course over 6 years. So I'm learning all about social research. So the next 2 years will be like where I want to take my social research. I was thinking of looking at unions and how unions support the neurodiverse community for taking somebody to a tribunal, because through my own experiences I found that incredibly difficult. So how can that be improved? And I think that that would be an interesting way to research it. But as I say, I can still see myself, because through my Open University studies I was actually quite intrigued the fact that we talk about all these things in criminology, but we don't talk about disabilities. So hidden disabilities, people who are physically disabled, these people don't commit crimes. I mean, it's just a bit weird that that has been completely missed out. So that's my interest within why I've gone into criminology in the first place, is to actually find out how to help a neurodiverse community.
I think that's incredibly fascinating in that world. And then you've written your book. Just if you tell our listeners again, what's your book called? And I know it is on Amazon at the moment.
Yes, it's called The Secret Life of a Dyslexic Criminologist in Training. It is about a criminologist who is studying with the Open University, and lots of people trying to scam her, and uh, I've put a lot of humour into it. I'm thankful that people like Stuart Marsden have given me some directions with some of the stories. It's all short stories about scammers, and I'm glad that people have given me some directions, and a lot of people have found it incredibly good. So I'm hoping that's the way people will take it. But that's where it's to give actual people warnings about scamming online, especially as a woman, because I think it's because I've got the word dyslexic, people think I'm stupid. So chatting to these people and letting them lead me on, and just, you know, join my fan club. You check up on the web, you don't have a fan club, it's exclusive, and I want you to be a part of it, because everybody wants to be a part of something, don't they? And I'm going like, oh, and as part of this exclusive fan club, it will be attached to your passport. Do you think I'm going to hand over my passport details to a stranger? But people do. That's one of the things.
It is quite worrying, isn't it? That
Yeah.
in this, I guess, this day and age of how accessible we are, I guess, online, and to highlight this in any way, shape, or form, what you've done, Susie, is incredible. Even if it's done in, like I said, in story form, so people can kind of take it in, the more the message is still there to just be mindful. So what does the future hold for Susie then?
Well, my main goal is getting my Bachelor of Arts in Criminology, and that's going to take a wee while. And I've already got Amazon saying, "Where's the second book?" I'm like, "Oh dear, what have I done?" But there's so many things out there, and it's all positively going forward. And talking to people about assistive technology, getting the world to know about assistive technology and not to be afraid of it. It's there to help you. So we'll see where things go in the future, but it's looking good. So we'll get there slowly. Just have to chip away at it.
You do, and I've always said, Susie, I admire your tenacity and your drive and I know there's been a lot of adversity in that sense, and a knock of confidence, as we've mentioned, but it's truly inspiring to see you continuously thriving And I know that it doesn't come without struggles. I completely understand that side of it, but it's so amazing to see, you know, the stuff you're doing, the book, and I'm sure there will definitely, hopefully there is planning to be a second book. Maybe,
Oh yes,
could be a
yes.
series.
Well, Wilma's looking to see how. I've been looking into it. You know, how do you report these online scams? You know, and finding out that the local police aren't involved. Trying to even go to UK Fraud Squad. Yeah, go to the Fraud Squad in Scotland. Interpol, nothing. So yeah, it is a difficult subject. So that's where the next book's heading.
Well, it sounds marvelous. Susie, thank you so much for telling us your experiences with assistive technology, but also as well your experiences around your own dyslexia and the amazing stuff that you're doing. I wish you all the best, and I will be an avid viewer of the continuous work that you're doing. I can't thank you enough for your time today.